everybody, and welcome to episode 43 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And basketball season is here. I'm actually recording this on Monday, November 3rd. It is opening day at Lloyd Noble Center with a doubleheader back-to-back men's and women's games starting at 4:30 today. So by the time this episode drops, those games will have already been over, obviously, but there is so much more to come. I'm very excited that it's basketball season, and I thought that it was only right to kick off basketball season with a special hoops preview for both the men's and women's squads. And I am so excited for today's guest, Tyler Neal. Tyler is a former Sooner Hooper, and he is also currently a radio host on the franchise and a color analyst for women's basketball. So I cannot wait to get to that interview here shortly. But before today's injury segment with Dr. Jason Lyman, yeah, we can talk about a good win. So I'm certainly not going to complain too.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those crazy games where it's like you're frustrated for the whole first half, and then you're like, oh, we're doing this again. And then it's like, well, our defense is playing good. We got some turnovers. They have a little excitement about that at the end. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe we got a chance. And then it's like, okay, now we're in the lead. And then you start, and then it's just like, and then you're excited. It's one of those crazy games.
Yes, it was a roller coaster for sure. Of course, I thought Kobe McKenzie was going to end up starting because he was out there warming up and was suited up and all that, and then he never made it out, which,
yeah.
I mean, and we did find out after we talked last week that it was a groin injury. So that's what he's dealing with. So there's that. So with the bye week, hopefully that works in his favor. But yeah, so he was out. And then our Mason Thomas goes out after that hamstring.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, you've got to be joking. But honestly, I mean, I feel like everybody stepped up, and it definitely could have gone a lot worse than it did. So shout out to the guys for stepping up for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, thankfully that defensive line is kind of one of those, we're pretty deep and we have a lot of good players that can fill in. And I mean, he's, our Mason Thomas, probably the best guy. So you always want your best out there. But when you have other guys who are just a slight step below and still killing it out there, I mean, that's a pretty good position to get someone hurt in if you have to. But
yeah, I was definitely thankful for that. And then, of course, our kicker, I just saw a bit ago, he was named the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, which does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Because that kid really just...
Man, he was money, for sure.
He certainly was.
Every time.
I mean, how exciting. And then I also saw that Owen Heineke was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week.
Okay, yeah, he had a great game. Yeah.
He had a great game. So... that's exciting. I'm certainly, again, not going to complain. And it sounds like after the game, Coach Venables was saying he did not expect, and I'm sure he's saying this knowing the bye week coming and everything, but he doesn't expect our Mason Thomas or Kobe to miss much, if any, game time at all. So, again, a bye week coming in will help. And then they just announced kickoff for Bama on Saturday, the whatever that is, 15th, I believe. It's at 2:30.
So 2:30, okay. 2:30, yeah, I thought I saw that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they just announced that. So so they've got a good 2 weeks to recover, and hopefully again Kobe recovers as well. So So anyway, that's what we got on deck. And then I was going to mention, I think I texted you this, and I saw this on social media, and if I saw it again, I was going to send it to you, but I haven't. But they were showing a video. Holly Rowe actually shared it on Twitter.
Okay.
Of Mateer when they were coming in the stadium. He was high-fiving people, and
I heard someone say something about that.
Yeah, he winced when he had, and I don't know if maybe they did it forcefully on purpose or something, or maybe they hit it just right. I don't know, but he visibly winced, and so that was before the game, and of course they were talking about that and everything, and I was just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But he had a much better second half than we've seen in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in the locker room. I just kind of like, he just decided now's the time.
I guess. I don't know, like something in him.
He finally decided, okay, I'm okay with this thing, or okay, the team needs me to, really step it up. I don't know what it was, but yeah, he looked much more like the Mateer of old that second half.
Did. Well, and again, I was thinking when I saw that video of him wincing, I was like, geez, this is not a good
Yeah,
sign. But then again, we go back to the whole mental thing, and I'm like, maybe he just needed a little confidence, a little boost, and
right. Yeah,
he got it. And so he's able to overcome what physical pain, what little might still be
right.
lingering. I don't know. But anyway,
I don't know
he was
either.
a completely different person in the second half, I felt like. So, I mean, I'll take it. So,
We'll take it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He's gonna have to play well again if we're gonna have a chance to beat Bama.
Yeah, that's
They've been looking pretty good,
gonna be a
and
tough one on the
it's on the
road.
road. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're mad because we beat them last year and knocked them out of
yeah.
the playoffs. So I'm sure they're going to try to
They'll be
get us
ready.
back. Yeah, they will
They'll
be
be
for
ready for
sure.
us. Yeah.
And then the only other thing I was going to mention today, which I mean, I know we've talked about knees a lot, and this isn't related to OU football, but it is related to a former Sooner, Trey Young. NBA just started last week, and poor guy, I think it was the second or third game. He took a pretty weird fall hit, and his knee. I mean, I saw the video where it happened. And his leg kind of like did something it shouldn't have been doing, and so
Unnatural movement.
yeah, it's like that's not normal. But they did say he dodged like a major structural injury. It's
Okay.
just an
Yeah.
MCL strain. So
Strain.
I think
Okay.
they
Yeah.
said he would be out. They said he'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
could be a lot worse for him, but I hate that. And the Hawks were just in Oklahoma City or they're going to be in Oklahoma City here pretty soon. It
Yeah. I
was the
think that. Yeah.
Pelicans that
Maybe.
played this past Sunday, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, so quite a few
Yeah. Yeah. A
random
lot of
things to
things
talk
going
about, but
on. Yeah.
could be worse. Could be
Well,
worse, but
thankfully, our guys weren't dropping. It seemed like the Tennessee guy, every time he turned around, their guys were getting injured. Now, I don't know how many of those were serious, but
I don't know either. Yeah.
man, every time, I even rewatched the game
Yes.
yesterday while I was just working on some charts and things, but
Uh huh.
it's just like, oh man, there's another timeout for an injury.
They did. They did.
It's
They were
crazy.
dropping like flies.
Yeah,
But
so
I,
thankfully we got out of there a little bit better.
yes, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But I gotta give a shout out to that atmosphere at Nayland because I knew a couple people that went to the game and
Mm,
media people and then just regular fans, friends of mine.
yeah,
And they said the atmosphere and the people were so friendly, but it was just like super incredible. And did you see their
yeah,
entrance?
that was
Like
cool. That was
that was
cool. They
super
did
cool. That was
the neon
probably one of the
lights or
coolest
the
things I've
lined
ever seen.
deal. Yeah, that was really
Yeah,
cool.
that was cool. So anyway, well, yeah, a little shout out to them for that because
Yeah,
I had a
yeah,
little FOMO for not going to that game when I saw that because
yeah.
what a cool atmosphere.
That
But
did look
yeah,
cool. Yeah,
you just never know what time the games are going to be. But the nighttime at Nayland
yeah.
seems to be the time you want to
That's
go.
pretty
So
cool. Yeah,
hopefully we'll get
yeah.
another shot at that. But
One of these days. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, kind of the biggest injury probably to think about is our Mason Thomas, obviously.
yeah,
When I first saw it, I really thought it was his ankle, just because
yeah,
he kind of had like an awkward step, and
he
I thought,
did.
oh, maybe he kind of tweaked it, and then he ran a
Mm-hmm.
few more steps, and then he started limping. So I honestly thought it was the ankle, and then of course the
Yeah,
guys are helping him off.
yeah,
But it makes sense it would be a hamstring as well. I mean, you see guys pull up with that, hamstring injury a lot. And it seems like I don't know why, but it seems like it's when they're running free after an interception or a
yeah,
fumble.
yeah.
These guys that are, and maybe because they're just, sprinting with the adrenaline and who knows.
I guess
But
so. Yeah,
these
I mean
guys
he
pull up
was.
with these hammies like that, and
Yes.
and it's pretty classic for that. But
Yeah, he was
um,
focused on stiff arming that guy, getting rid of him, I guess, and he wasn't paying attention to his legs. But yeah, he stepped awful funny there. I think he was just trying to stay in bounds there,
yeah, just trying to stay
and
in bounds and.
I was fingers crossed, hoping maybe it was just a cramp. But obviously, we could quickly
You
tell it
know,
was more than that.
yeah. When you first saw it, you thought, okay, yeah, he tweaked an
Yeah,
ankle, or he,
yeah,
had a cramp, and he'll come back. And then I thought, well, certainly, maybe after halftime, this is close
yes,
enough to
yeah,
halftime, he'll take a break, ice it
yeah.
down, stretch it out, and he'll come back. Oh, never
Never did.
did. But hopefully, I mean, these kind of big muscle group injuries, you do have to be careful with. I mean, sometimes these things can linger, and they can stay tight and sore,
Yeah.
and become one of those nagging kind of injuries that keeps
Mm-hmm.
guys from being 100% or keeps guys from being able to get back. I mean, whether it's a calf or a quad or a
Yeah.
hamstring, sometimes these big muscle groups on these big guys, it can be tough. But so hopefully
Yeah.
it's just if it's minor, if it doesn't have a major, so partially torn or something where he gets a lot of,
Yeah.
sometimes these muscles will bleed into, and kind of form this hematoma that can take a while to kind of get reabsorbed or worked out of there or whatever. So,
Okay.
but if it's just a minor strain and might be one of those things that they kept him out of the game because they weren't able to do a full assessment with
Right.
any imaging or whatever. And
Right.
so, for safety's sake, if he says, I can't put much weight on it or it hurts, or I can't push off, then you kind of
Yeah.
just say, yeah, let's keep you out until we can get back and do a full assessment, give it a couple of days to
Yes.
calm down, and then try to stretch you out, see if you can't jog or run, or get an MRI, or do what you need to do to kind of make sure nothing major is going on, and then you kind of just working back from there, hopefully.
Yeah. And I don't know what kind of information we'll get this week.
Probably
I
not
know
much.
there's not like the coaches show this week since there's a bye week. I can't remember if they normally do their presser on Tuesdays during a
Yeah,
bye
I can't remember
week or
that on a
not.
buy. Yeah,
So I don't know what kind of information we'll get. I imagine not much unless it was something major, which I don't think it is. But I
yeah.
imagine we may not hear anything on this until maybe another week,
So
week
be
of the
yeah,
week of the Bama game. But yeah, I guess no news is good news, I think.
yeah,
But
yeah. It
yeah,
sounded like they
just
were optimistic at the end of the game,
yeah.
and sometimes if they don't know, they'll say, "Well, we don't know," or we'll have to
Right.
reassess," or "I'm waiting on the medical staff to say something," So, but it sounded like Venables was kind of like, "Oh yeah, he probably won't miss any time." So
Yeah,
hopefully that's
he
good
seemed pretty
news.
confident in his answer. But again, I know we've talked about this with ankles and even knees and stuff, but like it's honestly crazy that we don't see more of the hamstring injuries and things like that because it happens so quick, so
Yeah,
easy, and we were just like, "Oh, what happened?"
exactly.
Yeah, it really is truly a wonder we don't see more of it, which I'm glad we don't. But I mean, I think a lot of it goes back to just the strength and conditioning too. I'm sure you could
Yeah,
talk more about that. But I mean, we've got top notch strength and conditioning, of course, and that's their whole job is to,
right.
try to prevent those minor injuries like that. But crap happens.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, some of these you're not gonna be able to prevent. I mean, yeah. I mean, the strength and conditioning has kind of come leaps and bounds from. I mean, even over the last 20 years,
For sure.
where these things are down to a science these days. And I
Mhm.
mean, you've got, especially at these big programs, I mean, we got people that are just on the sidelines handing out, protein bars, or they're handing
Yes.
out drink solutions that are down to the specific ion or
Yes.
whatever they
Yeah,
need,
it's
it
so
seems like.
crazy.
So I know that they're taking all that into consideration.
Yeah.
And they do the stretching and they do the conditioning through the week and specifically for that. And they're doing the ice baths and they're doing the
Yeah.
whatever. But some of these things, like I said, some of these guys, if you zig when you should have zagged or whatever,
Yeah.
and that muscle pulls just right, it might cause a little bit of an injury. But hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing major to.
Well, and all of that, it could keep these minor injuries that we're seeing from being something bigger because they are getting the attention and training beforehand that we're seeing. And I really want to get a nutritionist or someone on the podcast to talk to about some of this stuff because they learned some at the ladies' clinic.
Hmm.
One of the rotations was the nutrition station
Okay.
and
Yeah.
the main nutritionist for the football team talking about what you said, where the players have like individual, I don't want to say diets, but like, kind of like you have your individual macros as a person that
Yeah.
you're supposed to
Right.
hit.
Yeah.
And so they all
Hmm.
have their individual needs that
Sure.
one of
Yeah.
them needs more protein or potassium or whatever. And so they all have these individualized plans. And
Yeah.
like that, the staff, that's their job to make sure those players are getting that. It was really cool to talk to them and hear them talking about that and everything that they do, and definitely a full-time job. But yeah,
Yeah. For
I
sure.
really would like to get somebody on here to talk about that because that's a part of athletics that we don't think about as fans. We just assume
Sure.
everybody's going to be healthy, needs to be healthy, and will be, and just do
Right.
their thing, and we don't think of all the
Yeah.
science behind it. But yeah, there's a
Sure.
lot
Yeah.
that goes into that, and it's definitely
Definitely.
interesting for sure. So
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. That would be good to have on someone to
yeah, well,
kind of
and I
give a little
have
more specifics on
I
that. Yeah.
yeah, I have talked to someone. Again, the football department is very difficult to get into. A lot of them
Mm,
have non-disclosures and things like that. But
sure. Yeah.
I have spoken to one of the nutritionists for the basketball program,
Okay.
and she's willing to come on after season. So of
Yeah.
course they're
Good.
a little
Yeah.
busy right now, obviously. So
Yeah. That's good
I'm
for her to
gonna
get
touch
going.
base with her later in the spring, maybe even early summer. But yeah, I think regardless of the timing, it'd be cool to kind of hear what goes on behind
Yeah.
there. So
for
that's
sure.
a sneak peek of something coming later down the road. But anyway, yeah. So hopefully all of those things kind of work out. So, what are your thoughts on Kobe McKenzie with the groin injury? Because like I don't know a lot about that. We have that's something too we haven't talked about really on here.
Yeah,
Like I mean, because like I said, he was dressed out, padded up. We
yeah.
thought maybe he might
Thought he
come
might
out,
go.
and then he did warm ups, and I guess maybe he just
Hmm.
wasn't feeling it, which is fine. Better safe than sorry. But yeah, I don't really know
Yeah,
what to
it's
think
just
about that.
kind of, yeah. I mean, it kind of goes along with what I mentioned earlier. Just these big muscle groups, especially on these big
Yeah,
guys and
yeah,
guys that are real muscular. Um, And the groin can be tough just because you step and it's not like these guys are just running in a straight line.
right. Yeah,
They've got to cut and they've got to turn, or they start to get pulled this way or make a tackle this
hmm
way, or, and their legs are stuck one way and they got to twist their
yeah,
body, and it's just a real dynamic area.
yeah,
And, you're trying to push off, or you're trying to make a cut,
hmm
or you're trying to turn to block, or whatever it might
yeah,
be. And if that muscle just doesn't feel right, it can be a tough thing to kind of get completely over.
yeah,
Even if it's
for sure.
quote healed and it's not causing any major problems, sometimes the guys just don't feel quite right when
Yeah,
they get to the full speed. And
right. That
so,
makes sense.
I mean, it's just continuing the stretching and
Yeah.
continuing the ice and the heat and the muscle stim and the ultrasound treatment, all the stuff that you just got to do. And so,
Yep. Yep.
and sometimes these things again just take a little bit longer. And obviously these guys want to play, and the coaches want them to
Yeah, for
play, but
sure.
they also, if they're not close to 100%, some of these now some things, your wrist hurts a little bit. Okay, tape it up, or
Right, right.
you got bruised over here, you pat it up a little more, or if it's
Yeah.
a un, you know, critical, extremity, or whatever it might be,
Right,
you can kind of maybe give them a little bit extra boost or support. But some of these things, it's hard to really. I mean,
right.
technically you can wrap a groin, but it's not like taping an ankle where my
Right.
ankle's still a little sore.
It's a
Wrap it a
much
little
bigger muscle
tighter, or
group.
put a
Yeah.
little bit more span on there, or what. It's a tough area to kind of tape up, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that makes
So you
sense.
just kind of got to let it heal and see if you can't, they feel good enough, so they can
Yes.
go without feeling like they're going to be a detriment to the team if they can't,
Right.
maybe you can't perform your full
Exactly. Ugh,
duties. You got to kind of know when to say when and say, hey
for
guys,
sure.
I'm not gonna be able to do it this time.
Well, and again, luckily time is in our favor right now with the bye
Yeah,
week.
for
We've got
sure.
that extra time and hopefully that will work in all of their favor. Did you see, and now it's slipped my mind who the player was, but I saw it on Twitter a couple of times, people sharing it back after the game. It was after a play and one of our guys was down starting to get up and one of the Tennessee players like came over and punched him
Yes, that was
and it's so strange and I was like,
was that
what the
that might
heck?
have been after that last interception right before
I
halftime.
feel like that might be
It might
right.
have been, yeah, it might have been
I've forgotten all
Spears.
the
It might have been
specifics
Spears
now.
Jennings, maybe.
It may have been, but
And
I
he
just thought,
got that. But
what
yeah,
the
it was kind of, he
heck?
just got tackled. Yeah, the
Yes,
guy just comes in,
he
and
just
I
punched
don't know
him.
if it was like a delayed, I'm going to punch the ball out, even though he's already been on the ground for 3 seconds. I
I
don't
was
know.
like
It
clearly
was
after the
weird.
play. Yeah, it
It's
was so
definitely after the
strange.
play.
And
Yeah.
everybody on Twitter was like, where's the flag for that? And
Yeah.
I don't know if I guess no one saw it, obviously, but I don't know how I guess
They
maybe
missed
since it
that.
was after
Yeah.
the play, they were just whatever.
Who
But
knows?
I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting for sure. And of course, some people were blowing it way out of proportion, I feel
Oh, I
like.
know. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, it was kind of crazy to see. And I'm like, well, I'm glad he was okay. I mean, I'm sure that didn't feel good from where it appeared that he was at least trying to punch him.
Right.
But
Yeah,
he really
exactly.
got down there. But yeah, what it's just so crazy. And if you had told me that we were going to play without Kobe and without RMT, I don't know that my confidence level in winning would have been as high as
Yeah, that's
I was
true.
wanting it to be, and we still got it done. I
Yeah.
felt pretty good going in. I really was a little concerned, obviously at night in Nayland, and just the
Right. Yeah.
atmosphere obviously plays a big difference.
for
But
sure.
man, we really got it done.
Yeah, they made it happen for sure.
Considering all
That
the
defense
things.
is elite for sure.
For sure. And I think that speaks volumes. And Owen Heineke being a walk on former lacrosse player,
Oh yeah, he's having a great season.
just, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, good for him. It just makes
yeah,
me
for
happy.
real.
He wanted to play football at OU, and here he is doing it.
Yeah,
And his uncle, Corey Heineke, he was on the 2000 national championship team. And
yeah,
so, yeah, so I listened to a podcast with him. It was, I don't remember, but it was one of the ones like through the university, obviously, like
mm,
with Sooner Sports
yeah.
Properties. But he talked a little bit about how he went to Ohio State, walked on, played lacrosse, and then was like, "Hey, I want to go in the portal and try to play football." And who would have ever thought? But he really wanted to play at OU, given his family ties. So
Yeah,
props to
it's
him and
yeah, for sure. He's
SEC
had a great
Defensive Player of
season.
the Week. So he's
I
obviously
know,
getting
pretty
it
cool.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you again to my friend Dr. Jason Lennon for joining me each week for the injury segment. Always enjoy having a little bit of time to talk football with him, talk a little sports. And after I hit stop on our recording, we talked a little bit about the coaching landscape across college football right now, Auburn, that situation. Jackson Arnold got benched last weekend. Then they lost this past Saturday to Kentucky. Hugh Freeze, their head coach, got fired on Sunday. And if you don't keep up with the greater landscape across all of college football, there are a lot of coaching vacancies right now. Penn State, Florida, LSU, now Auburn. I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but it's just really crazy time across the league right now. And I am just going to say that I am so glad that we got our win on the road at Tennessee this past weekend. Does not look like that Brent Venables is going to be sitting on that chopping block. Right now, we're sitting at 7-2. We have 3 games remaining, one on the road against Alabama on November 15th. It was just announced 2:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC. And then we have 2 remaining home games, Missouri, which is an 11 a.m. kickoff, and LSU on November 29th, which will either be an afternoon or evening kickoff. That one has not been officially announced yet on the exact time. But if we can just win our 2 home games, we're going to be sitting really, really good to end the season. So just a crazy, crazy time across college sports. So on to this week's Sooner headlines of the week. If you're following our former Sooners in the NFL, it has been an exciting time. I got to watch the Broncos Texans game yesterday. Got to see a little Nick Benito action. Always great to see him doing his thing. Mark Andrews completely balled out last Thursday on the Thursday night game for their win with the Ravens over the Dolphins. I did not get to watch that game. I was actually at the Thunder game. Unfortunately, I cannot do all the things as much as I want to, but he completely balled out in that win over the Dolphins. Baker and Jalen are on a bye this week, and then Kyler and the Cardinals play Monday Night Football tonight. The day that I'm recording this, they play. As you know, Kyler has been out with his Liz Frank a foot injury. It was said that he's been out for about a month now, I believe. And they did say that he could play a role in tonight's game. Jacoby Brissett, the backup, is slated to start, but hopefully we will see a little action from Kyler and hoping that he is recovering well. I am actually going to Phoenix in a couple of weeks to see him when they play the 49ers. So I would really like to see Kyler on the field. This is my second time to try to go to Phoenix to see him. First time was when he tore his ACL or blew out his knee a couple of years ago. So obviously I didn't go. So maybe it's just not my luck to try to go see Kyler, but fingers crossed that he is recovering well, not just for my selfish reasons, but just overall. I know he's ready to get back out on the field. Again, we just have so many Sooners across the league. The Cowboys play tonight, Monday Night Football, CD. So excited to see what they can do. So it'll be interesting to see, again, the Cowboys and the Cardinals Monday Night Football. So do a little recap of that on next week's episode. So the AP polls came out this past Sunday. We are number 11 in the polls, but it really only is going to matter for about 48 hours because on Tuesday, the first CFP rankings come out. And so by the time this episode drops, those CFP rankings will be out. I will be sharing all that information on my social media at Sooner Girl Pod. Facebook and Instagram stories are a great way to see updates like that, and on my Twitter account as well. I like to post all the up to date information. So stay tuned. You will not want to miss what our current CFP ranking will be. That is the ranking that really matters going out in the home stretch as we enter the last month of the regular season, the postseason with the championship games the first week in December, and then, of course, to decide where we go for bowl games. 12-team playoff this season. So if we can just stay in the top 12, that would be fantastic. So fingers crossed. Can't wait to see what our CFP ranking is when that comes out. Okay, so a little fun fact going into Saturday's game at Tennessee, Oklahoma had yet to put up 27 points in a conference game since joining the SEC last year. Tennessee had yet to hold an SEC opponent to under 31 points this season. Well, as you know, Oklahoma won that game 33-27. So I cannot say enough about our team, especially coming out in that second half, the middle eight that we've talked about before, meaning the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. We really got the job done on the road at Tennessee. I just could not be more proud of our team, especially our defense stepping up with Kobe McKenzie out and RMT sustaining that hamstring injury on that touchdown run after that interception. Just holy smokes. Literally cannot say enough. I won't go too much into that just because Dr. Jason and I did talk about that in the injury segment, but I just could not be more proud of our team. A huge shout out to Owen Heineke. He started in Kobe McKenzie's place and got the forced fumble on that 71-yard RMT fumble. You knock down one of Venables' linebackers and another one just pops right on up to get the job done. And shout out to Owen Heineke, who is the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. He really stepped up. He had a fantastic game. He had the game of his life, 12 tackles in the first half, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. He finished the game with 13 tackles, 5 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and at least a couple of QB pressures. And again, SEC Defensive Player in the Week. So shout out to Owen Heineke. Cortland Guillory is going to be a star. What a game for the freshman. He really came out. He had a lot of great plays. Just what a game for him to show out. He is really going to be something to watch going forward. So just want to give him his props on that. The 71-yard scoop and score by RMT is the longest in program history for the Sooners. The Tennessee defense has not been able to stop hardly anyone all season. I kind of felt like we should have been doing more in that first half, but we really stepped up and got it done in the second half. Peyton Bowen had an interception and quite a few yards on that interception there. And what an exciting play that was. If you did not see it, go back on OU football social media, both on their Twitter and Instagram. You can see him just run right across that route and nab that ball and run it. Just an incredible play, an incredible nab by Peyton Bowen. Shout out to Tate Sandell, our kicker, as if he has not done enough this season. He has just been absolute nails. Again, SEC Special Teams Player of the Week for Tate this week. 4 for 4 on his field goals this past Saturday at Neyland. 5-yarder, 51-yarder, a 40-yarder, and another 55-yarder, tied for the longest field goal in Neyland Stadium history. There have been 10 field goals of 55 yards or longer in OU football history, and 4 of them were by Tate Sandell this season. His 11 makes of 40-plus yards are a single season Sooner record. Short shorts, but not short on distance, said Chris Fowler. If you missed the commentary between Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit on his attire during the game, you know, Kirk is not exactly an OU fan. He always has something smart to say. He was definitely ragging on Tate and his short shorts. I saw a joke going around Twitter about every time he makes a long field goal, he cuts a little more off the shorts. He said after the game that his shorts were ripped or something. So he was pulling them up to keep them from falling. I don't know that I believe that. I'm like, dude, just own your short shorts. You're getting the job done. Who cares, right? But it was just a hilarious commentary. A lot of jokes have been made about that since. But he's made 17 field goals in a row. 5 of them have been from beyond 50 yards. So again, shout out Tate Sandell, SEC Special Player of the Week. You earned it, dude. I hope that someone gives that kid the flowers he deserves. And by flowers, I mean, I don't know, car, money, dinner. I don't know. Like, give that kid whatever he wants because he has more than earned it on our roster this season. Another quick shout out to Robert Spears Jennings. That interception he had led to another field goal before half. The 3 Tennessee turned turnovers were a huge key in the game. If you had told me that we would have played a game without RMT, without Kobe, just everything going on, if you would have seen the yardage, the stats for that game, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense how we won. But again, those three Tennessee turnovers were a huge factor in that. And we put together our best offensive drive that I've seen of the season, probably, with Xavier Robinson. He fumbled it for the very first time this year. I really felt like, oh gosh, it's always something after that good, impressive drive. But we started the fourth quarter. Our total yards were 277. Tate Sandell had kicked 201 yards in field goals. So there was that. That game will be forever known as the Tate Sandell game. There were jokes going around again of him being called Yvonne Sandell. If you don't know what that means, Yvonne Shaman was a kicker for OU back in the 70s. There was a big game against Ohio State where he made an exceptional kick. He is very well known in OU history. So it was just a pun there in Tate's favor, and quite an honor to be referred to as Yvonne Shaman for sure. But PJ Adebore, tackles for loss, Daniel Okoye, sack, Owen Heineke, again with the game of his life. We kept those playoff hopes alive. Just some final stats here. John Mateer, 19 of 29, 159 yards. He did have one interception, 80 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Xavier Robinson, 115 yards and a touchdown. Satenga, 6 catches and 68 yards, 151 total yards. The Volunteers are now at 6-3. They had 456 total yards. Joey Aguilar, their quarterback, had 393 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he had those 2 interceptions. And again, those fumbles, those turnovers is really what cost them the game. It was a big crowd played at Neyland on Saturday night, 101,915 people. It's the top 3 biggest crowds the OU has ever played in. Number 1 being Ohio State 2017 with 109,88. Number 2 being Tennessee back in 2015, there with 102,455. So a lot of people that OU played in front of Saturday night and really broke a lot of Vol heart for sure. But again, shout out to our guys for getting it done. If you went to that game, it truly looked incredible. I saw a story where an Oklahoma family from Mustang took their boat all the way down the Mississippi to do some tailgating there on the river by Neyland, and it just looked like so much fun. Had a little FOMO missing out. No, Dr. Jason and I talked about this, that opening, the entrance of the team on the field, just truly incredible. What an experience, what an atmosphere. I cannot give enough praise to our guys for going out winning that game on the road. What an incredible win. So going into a bye week, again, enjoy that bye week to have a little recovery time for our guys that are injured. And we will kick off against Alabama on the road on November 15th at 2:30 p.m. Again, men's and women's hoop kick off today at time of recording, Monday, November 3rd. Doubleheader at Lloyd Noble. I'm just really looking forward to this season. Tyler, Neal, and I get into the conversation here shortly. Just super excited about what the squads have to offer. There are lots of games coming up, lots of opportunities to get out and support our hoops squads. So please take a look at their schedule, have some tickets, and get out and support those teams. I just did an interview with Stacey Dales. She is a former OU hooper and now an NFL sideline reporter. And what an incredible conversation we had. She is part of the team that really laid the framework for OU women's basketball. Just getting to chat with her about her thoughts for this upcoming season, and then again talking to her about what she does now for the NFL Network on the sidelines. Just what a great conversation that was. Again, coming up, I have conversations with Peyton Verhulst and Beatrice Colleton and our former hooper, Taylor Robertson. So the next few months, lots of basketball content coming up. So stay tuned. You will not want to miss any of those interviews. I did want to give a quick shout out to our NBA Sooners. Austin Reeves, he continues to show out. He's had some incredible games for the Lakers. I know it's hard sometimes to be a Lakers fan. There may be some players on there that we don't care much for, but I'm telling you, they've got quite some team chemistry there. Austin Reeves really putting up some great numbers. So shout out to former Sooner Austin Reeves. Jeremiah Fears getting a lot of playtime in New Orleans for the Pelicans. They played at the Thunder this past weekend, and some of our basketball guys, including Coach Moser, got out and supported him. So that was really cool to see at Paycom. Again, Trae Young is out with a knee injury. He will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. And don't forget, our buddy Hield is playing for the Golden State Warriors. He is getting quite a bit of playing time as well. So be sure and check in and follow up on our NBA Sooners. Don't forget about our men's and women's gymnastics squads. The men's schedule I know is coming soon. Women's schedule is out. They start their home meets in January. You won't want to miss out. Baseball, fall ball is over. It has been so cool to see just a little sneak peek of what's coming up this spring on the diamond with Skip Johnson's crew. I'm so excited. I will be chatting with Brendan Brock for the podcast here pretty soon, and that episode will air after the first of the year as we get ready for baseball season. I'm just super ready for our diamond sports. It will be here before you know it. Also, shout out for our softball girls. The last chance to catch them with fall ball at home on November 6th, which is Thursday when this episode drops. Last home scrimmage battle series. It's been quite the home run derby for the girls. So fun to see everybody picking up where they left off and seeing these newbies come in, such as Kendall Wells, Alyssa Parker, Berkeley Zake in the circle, come in and really show us what they got. Kai Miner, I didn't make any notes. I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's been so fun to see these girls this fall and a great sneak peek of what's coming up in the spring on the diamond. I did see on Twitter they posted a while back 99 days until first pitch, which at that time meant that their first game will fall on Thursday, February the 5th. So I don't have any details on that yet or location or anything like that, but doing a little countdown, doing a little math. Thursday, February 5th, first pitch for OU softball. So pretty exciting stuff to be here before you know it. Shout out to our soccer team for making it to the SEC championship this year. Unfortunately, they did lose to Mississippi State just this past Sunday in the final minutes. 0-1. That game was tied at 0 the entire time until the last minute and a half. I actually did have it on my iPad while I was watching football on Sunday. I didn't know what was going to happen because I know those games can finish in a tie, but obviously I didn't figure this one could with it being the postseason. But unfortunately, Mississippi State got a goal in with literally around a minute and a half left to play. And so our Sooners lost out. So now they are awaiting the selection show, which is on Monday, November 10th, to find out their postseason fate. Coach Matt Mott, in his interview after the loss yesterday, did say that he feels like they've done enough to make it to the postseason. So fingers crossed we will find out. I don't think that selection show will be before I record for next week's episode. I believe it's Monday evening. But as soon as all of that is revealed, again, I will be posting and sharing on my social media at Sooner Girl Pod. Again, my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram stories are where to get the up to the minute latest information like that. And as soon as I record after that information is released, I will be sharing it on the podcast as well. But I want to do a quick shout out to our all SEC third team, Caroline Duffy and Riley Brown, and all freshman team, Allie Lasanoli. Those girls have done a lot this season, had a great season. Also, quick shout out to my girl Hadley Morell. I had her and Coach Mott on the podcast earlier this summer, back in July. Such great people. Enjoyed talking to them. I have enjoyed watching them this season, learning a lot about the sport and just getting more familiar with soccer. There's such a fun team to watch. So best of luck to them in the postseason. Fingers crossed that they make it to the tournament. It is wrestling season as well. Our guys open up their season this coming Sunday, November the 9th, on the road at Missouri. I recently talked with our wrestler DJ Parker, and his episode will be coming up here in the next few weeks. It will be dropping in early December. Our volleyball girls are getting pretty close to wrapping up their season, but there's still quite a few opportunities to catch them at home. November 5th, they have Mississippi State at home. November 7th, Bama at home. And they close out the season on the road at Kentucky on the 14th and Tennessee on the 16th. The SEC tournament is November 21st through 25th. So stay tuned for all of those results. And I will be updating information on their tournament times as they are released. Our tennis men are at the ITA Sectional Championship in Ann Arbor, Michigan this week. And then our women's team are at the ITA Conference Masters Championships in San Diego, California this week. Again, the tennis players have a little different schedule. I always share this information on my Twitter again and in my Facebook and Instagram stories. We have some of our players all over the place each week. The social media teams put out where their players are going to be this week and a graphic. And I always share that again on my Facebook, Instagram stories because they are just all over the place, especially in the fall. But I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Bruno Naveen, who I also hosted on the podcast earlier this summer. But back to back Norman champs with Bruno and his doubles partner, Oscar Lasitas. Shout out to them. Congratulations, guys. What an incredible outing you guys had to represent OU tennis in Norman last week. And my sincerest apologies for failing to mention last week. I completely looked over my notes when recording about our track and field squads having the SEC championship this past weekend. But they did compete in Knoxville this past Friday. Our men finished on the podium in third place with the bronze, and our women finished 12th place. And we did have a fourth place finish individually for Evans Biwat. And so shout out to him. Congratulations on that. Our rowing team had the Princeton Chase this past Sunday in Princeton, New Jersey. We had a top 10 finish for the 8 plus, and all of our other three teams finished in the top 30. Our men's golf team, Ryder Cohen's 20 under par score in Hawaii makes him one of 3 Sooners to ever post a 20 under mark, joining Chris Gotterup and Quade Cummings. Holy smokes, what an accomplishment for Ryder Cohen. Shout out to him. We had so many Sooners finish in the top standings of that tournament in Hawaii. We fired a 26 under 258. We shattered the program record for the lowest round per versus par, and they took the lead into the final round. It was just an incredible outing for our men's golf team, so shout out to them. Also want to give a quick shout out reminder again, there are lots of club sports at OU, including hockey, rugby, lacrosse. Share all of that information. Women's wrestling is another one. I share all of that on my social media as I come across it to get people to raise awareness and support those teams. And our men's hockey team, they play in Edmond at Arctic Ice. If you get a chance, get out, support them. They play all the way up through the end of February, early March. So you've got plenty of opportunities to get out and support them for sure. Okay, my Sooner MVP of the week has to be none other than Tate Sandell. I literally cannot imagine giving it to anyone else. I will say I did think about Owen Heineke. Shout out to him as well. He can be my quote runner up. But Tate Sandell, all of the aforementioned things with him, he has just done so much for our program this year. We have really counted on him. He has carried a lot of weight on his shoulders and he has gotten the job done every stinking time. So shout out to Tate Sandell for his accomplishments and all of those field goals that he made on Saturday night. Okay, for the Sooner fun fact of the week, Kelly Cathey was the first female student athlete in women's cross country history at Oklahoma to be named an All-American. She earned back-to-back selections in both 1980 and 1981. How cool is that? Okay, thank you everyone again for your overwhelming support. I cannot thank you enough. If you're watching on the video, you can see I have on my shirt. On Wednesdays, we talk sports in my pink writing. This was my fundraiser that I did for my local chapter of Project 31, which is a group that supports breast cancer patients and survivors and their families. I wanted to do something special. It's not too late to order one of these shirts. I have a pink one with black writing, and then I have this black shirt with the pink writing for those of us like myself who aren't a huge fan of pink. But all the proceeds are going to that organization. And this is my tagline on Wednesdays We Talk Sports. I just thought it was a great idea. Tie in a Mean Girl reference, which was my reference with this movie. On Wednesdays we wear pink. Well, on Wednesdays here at Sooner Girl Sports Pod, we talk sports, but we also wear pink and support breast cancer awareness. So thank you to everyone who bought a shirt. Again, I sold quite a few. I was so thankful for the support. So thankful to be able to have a good donation to give to Project 31. I'm delivering that to Sweet Jamie, who is in charge of the chapter here in a couple of days. But these shirts are still available on the website, guys, and I hope that you go and get one. It does support a great cause. Again, I am keeping tabs on these sales and will pass off the rest of the donation to Jamie again if those sales continue. But these shirts will be available on the website along with other variety of shirts. I've got hoodies. It's hoodie season. Time to curl up. I've got, again, just a wide variety. Kids sizes available as well. I've got hats, visors, koozies, stickers, you name it. So one of the best ways to support the pod is with merch. It's free advertisement for me. And again, for these shirts and all the proceeds on all the merch I sold the month of October went to Project 31. So just super thrilled to be able to support such an amazing cause. But please go and follow me again on all social media at Sooner Girl Pod and Don't forget to download and share, invite a friend, all the things. I am so close to getting 1,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok. And so if you don't follow me, please go and do so and share it with a friend. Just a reminder, Locker Room Girls, we're having our next online huddle coming up on Tuesday, November 19th. So you will not want to miss that. Shoot me a message if you want more information on how to join the locker room. It's only $5 a month. You get lots of other great perks too, a merch discount. We have a text group, private chat, all the things. You won't want to miss out on that. And my playbook newsletter came out this past weekend. If you didn't see it in your inbox, you can check it out on SoonerGirlSportsPod.substack.com. You can also sign up there if you want it delivered to your inbox with episode recaps and things like that. But we also have advertising sponsorship opportunities. There's lots of ways to support the podcast, regardless of your budget, whether it be free or if you only want to spend $5, if you want to buy a shirt for $20. I think the hoodies are only $25 or $30. If you want to sponsor a show, if you want to sponsor a segment of the show, if you just want to send me some love and buy a cup of coffee or something for a tea for me to drink while I'm recording the show, I appreciate all the support so much more than you know. I love seeing you guys and hearing back from you that you're listening to the pod and sharing with friends. It truly, truly means more than you know. Cannot thank you enough. So thank you all for listening. I will see you again next Wednesday. I have a great preview for the Bama game coming up with my friend Scott Baird, who is from Alabama, grew up an Alabama fan, but is an OU grad. Dear friend of mine, one of the main catalysts in supporting me to start this podcast. Cannot wait for you to hear that episode of Crimson Chronicles next week. So for now, we will get on to our interview with my friend Tyler Neal, and I will see you next Wednesday where we talk sports. You guys, I'm so excited for this week's interview with Tyler Neal, basketball hoops preview for men's and women's. Such an exciting interview. I hope you guys will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed visiting with Tyler. Tyler was an all-state basketball player at PC West, as well as the state of Oklahoma's Gatorade Player of the Year during his senior year 2009-10 season. He then came to play at OU under Jeff Capel, who recruited him, and then later Lon Kruger, participating in 2 NCAA tournaments with the Sooners and winning the Big 12 Conference's 6th Man of the Year award during his 2013-14 season. Tyler now co-hosts the Franchise Afternoon Show on 107.7 The Franchise on Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. And he also runs his brand new podcast that just started. If you follow me on social media, you've seen me sharing about it. Tyler Neal is checking in. You can find it on Apple and Spotify. I do encourage you right now, if you are a basketball lover of all things OU basketball, you need to stop right now and go and follow his podcast. You will not want to miss an episode of his podcast. He is a color analyst for the women's team as well. He truly loves all things OU basketball. So be sure you go and check out his podcast and be sure and listen to it after, of course, you finish this interview and listen to Sooner Girl Sports Pod each week. But Tyler will be talking all things OU men's and women's basketball. And on top of all of those things, he can be heard during the basketball season, contributing again to men's and women's basketball in a variety of ways, including game broadcast on the radio for women's basketball and the coaches show at Rudy's. Tyler is Sooner born and Sooner bred into an OU family. He's never known anything else. He has so many favorite memories that we do discuss in the show. His favorite memory as a fan is a 2002 Hoops Final Four run. And as a player, it's his first NCAA tournament experience in 2013 after finishing second in the Big 12 regular season standings as a team. That was an incredible season. I truly remember that pretty vividly. Again, I just want to remind you, Tyler is incredible. He was so kind. I truly enjoyed visiting with him. I think I could have talked to him all day long. Go follow him on Twitter. He is T_Neal on Twitter, and also go and check out his podcast. Tyler Neal is checking in on both Apple and Spotify. And get ready for hoop season, because here is my awesome interview with Tyler Neal.
No problem at all. You don't have to pull my leg to talk basketball, that's for sure.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I always tell people that, football is my first love, but obviously basketball has grown on me, especially in the last, I would say 15 years or so for sure. My husband's a big basketball guy. And so since we've been together, it's just something that of course, he loves all sports, but March Madness has become a very big deal to us.
Yeah.
we like to try to attend some part of the tournament. We've been to Final Fours, Elite Eights. The first and second rounds will be in Oklahoma City next March, so
Yeah.
we've already got tickets for that.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're excited. But I think I mentioned to you I talked to Peyton Verhulst and Beatrice Culleton for the podcast, and their shows. One of them will be in November, and the other one in December. So I'm ready. So, but yeah, let's for purposes of this conversation, we'll start with you first. However far back you want to go to talk about yourself and your own basketball journey and how you got to OU and just your time there. You had two great coaches, so and a great time there. So yeah, let's hear all about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, it's time is going faster these days as a husband and a parent of three. So what I don't like is that we're going on 3 full graduating classes since I've been done. So that is not sitting very well with me these days. Try to not think about that as much as possible.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, so born in Oklahoma City, grew up in Bethany, and born into I'm the only one in my family, mom, dad, and 2 big brothers. Only one born in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
But when I was born, my family had been here for a handful of years and had adopted the Sooners and all the things. A basketball family. Dad played in college. Brother played in college at the same school, my oldest one, and just kind of got indoctrinated into that. Both just being in gyms, being in at their games, rooting them on, and wanting to eventually play myself and be like big brothers. Essentially, is where it started.
Yeah.
And then being in Oklahoma, of course, I was born in '92, so 8-10 years old. Bob Stoops comes around. The national title in that second year, and that helped kind of stoke the flames of the fire of being a fan. And then being basketball, of course, shortly after that, the Final Four.
Yes.
With Hollis Price and Kelvin and those guys. Yes. So just kind of a unique time frame there for a 10-year-old kid, of course, as I was continuing to get into the game of basketball because of my brothers. And I mean, that's where my Sooner fandom started. And to have eventually gone to Putnam West and turned into a player that had the opportunity to attract the interest of Coach Capel at the time is just, I mean, every year that goes by, it's a dream come true,
Absolutely. I love it.
And I noticed it in the moment. I did. It's very, very special in the moment, but you grow up and you kind of go through the phases and start seeing your own kids. I mean, my oldest, I got twin girls, they're 8. So, whenever football won that national title, I was the age that my girls are.
That's crazy to think about.
It is. But, I start to realize like that's more and more, that's a very special opportunity that I had, one I never take for granted. Happy to have, especially in this day and age, Larissa, guys and gals going 3 and 4 different schools over a 4 and 5 year span.
Yeah.
Going there all 4 years and never really even thinking twice about it has really paid dividends for me professionally now with, working at the franchise, doing radio for the women's team. Coach Baranchik and Coach Moser are both so gracious, both kind of in that capacity as a media member now, I guess, but also as a former player with the men's side. They're both very gracious to allow me to come to practice and be around, and that's obviously very helpful. So you just realize the institution that OU is and what a great job Joe C. has done in building that program and hiring great people. And very special. I look back on it fondly for sure and benefit from it every day, every week.
That for sure. Well, and you bringing up Joe Castiglione, I can't remember. And I've talked about this with several people, and I cannot remember who initially called him Joey Clutch.
Yes.
I heard that a few years ago, and it has stuck in my brain. And if I ever meet that man, that's what I'm going to call him. But he really has had some clutch hires during his tenure, and I hate to see him go as far as goes. But he's ready to step back, I'm sure.
Yeah, been doing it a long time.
A few years. Yeah, he has. But I was at OU during Bob Stoops' time.
Okay.
So I was there from 98 to 2003. So I was there at the end of Don Blake, the Schellenberger days, and then in comes Bob Stoops. And what a time it was for basketball, even as well for the men and women's.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of great memories. over the last quarter of a century, especially for all of our major sports
Sure.
and then some others as well. So how did you get into radio? I did not realize that you also were involved in the women's basketball program.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That's good to know. I will admit I listen on the radio to football a lot, of course.
Yeah.
Even if I'm at home, I'll mute the TV or whatever.
Me too. They do a great job.
Yes, they really are the best. I actually had Toby Rowland on earlier this summer.
Nice.
He is awesome, and
yep.
I really think he's one of the best callers that there is, in my opinion. But I know we're a little biased, but how cool for you to have opportunity too to work with him as well with the men's side. But yeah, how did you kind of get into the radio side of it? Because that's a big deal to be like the voice on the radio, because people listen to it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And at a time too, and so to be clear, I do, for listeners, I do the women's side color commentary.
Yes.
And this year will be the most work that I've done with them. But early October or so, kind of confirmed with Toby this year that I'm going to be doing all their away games.
Oh, nice.
And that's the first time that'll have been the case.
Yes.
I've done work with them for 3 or 4 years now. I can't remember if this is season 4 or 5. Again, it goes quickly.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been kind of like at the beginning of a month, we'll touch base. Hey, how about this game and that game there? So towards the end of this last year, I really started traveling around with the women more often. I went to the Arkansas and Florida road games, regular season at the end of the year last year, then ended up traveling with them to Greenville for the SEC tournament.
Yes.
Then did the 2 home NCAA tournament games.
Nice.
And then traveled with them to the Sweet 16 against Connecticut. So that was a great experience. And Jenny obviously wants somebody doing that role that she kind of trusts and believes in to put the program in as good a light as possible, while also doing the job the way it needs to be done. So that was great. That was great. A great experience this spring of 25 this year with them, and she was very helpful in helping me kind of get in there. So that's where that comes from. As far as 107.7 the franchise, I interviewed with them back at a job change in like 2018, and it was not a good time for them. This was a little bit pre-COVID, of course, 2018. They still had 3 co-hosts on every show throughout the day. Now we only have 2. Since COVID. I think a lot of radio stations moved to that, but just wasn't a great time. But it was we kind of started a relationship there, and they're the home for Sooner Sports flagship station. Of course, when you're listening to games, it is on 107.7 the franchise. And next job change, touched base with them again. Actually, they reached out a Daniel Bell, who also is on air earlier in the day. I'm on from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Daniel's on in the morning and then kind of through the middle of the day a little bit. He reached out. I was doing the coaches show with Porter and Toby at Rudy's one spring a couple years back, and I do some of that too still. But Daniel, I played high school basketball with him. He reached out. I think he was just interning at the time. He reached out and said, "Hey, Jay Ramsey, Kelly Gregg wanted to see if you'd come on and talk men's hoops once a week." So I was like, "Sure thing." So that was in the spring of 22, I want to say. And then that summer, guys will take with football season and basketball season being busy, it's kind of when guys will take some family vacation and whatnot. So I started doing some fill-in work for them. And then come August of that year, a couple spots opened up, and that's kind of when I started with them. So just kind of maintain that relationship. That's been great. I've always said that anything involving basketball is definitely my favorite. My favorite work I do, and it is. But daytime radio, where we're talking a lot about Sooner football. We're talking about the OKC Thunder, and whatever else, the NFL, everything. Yeah. I've enjoyed that a lot more than I even thought I would, and I thought I'd like it. But it's been great getting to know Matt Burton, my co-host, and everybody at the franchise too. So, we talk to Toby weekly on Mondays during the football season and basketball for kind of a review of the game from the weekend. Love Toby and all those other guys you mentioned as well. So that's kind of where that came from.
Awesome. That's really cool. Well, like you said, you never turned down an opportunity to talk about basketball.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I started doing my podcast, which I know it's on a much smaller scale, but I just enjoy sitting around talking about sports with anybody that will listen. So I often find myself in the living room with all the men, and while the women are in the kitchen or whatever, because it's rare that I find another female that can keep up with me, regardless of the sport, because tend to get way too invested and technical, and they're like, I'm done.
That's what Sooner fandom can do. It can instill a passion about it that is kind of one of a kind. So I like
it really is. It is. Well, I grew up watching OU sports with my dad and
yeah
going to football and basketball games, mainly, of course, men's and women, and just have grown to love. If OU plays it, I follow it, watch it, support
yeah
it in some way. And I've recently grown to love volleyball, soccer, tennis, and things like that that I didn't know that I had an interest
sure.
in. But attending those games and talking to the athletes and coaches, which I've had the honor to do,
Yeah.
it really gets you involved, and social media helps with that too. And of course, being able to watch on TV and everything, or listen or whatever, just all things Sooner sports, sign me up. So let's talk a little bit about the season coming up. I know we had SEC media days just last week, and the seasons sound very promising on both sides. So we'll just start with the men first. So we had a lot of portal entries for the team, and I mentioned this on my podcast. Porter Moser said about the portal and how he's leaning into the portal instead of just what he was used to doing all of those years, where he would develop players and grow up with them, so to speak. And like you said, you were very lucky to be at OU at a time where that was a more common thing than what it is now. You were there for your whole time. And, I have mixed feelings about the portal, and that's the story for another day. But like Porter said, it's just how it is, and it's important to lean into it. And I think, not to go off on this, but I think that's been the demise possibly of some other coaches. Mike Gundy, no offense to him, but my husband and I have talked about this with him being a poke, but he was very resistant to the portal. And I think it cost him a lot and eventually, unfortunately, cost him his job. But so to hear Porter say that about the portal is very promising. And of course, again, we've had all of those entries come into the team for this season, but some good names. I mean, maybe names I didn't recognize at first, but reading about them, hearing about them, and learning about them, I'm very excited. And then again, another thing he said was, I believe it was Tay Davis. He said he thinks he could possibly be Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And that's very fun to hear. So, yeah, what are your thoughts going forward, especially on some of those names that we may not be familiar with yet?
Yeah, on the portal, I liked that too. When he was hired, that is when is he going into season 5 now? Is that right?
I believe
Both
so.
he and Jenny, right? So that was right in the midst of COVID, which he he didn't ask for, and neither did Jenny. None of us did, for the record.
No. Do not want to do that again.
But that's also kind of when this new era of college athletics was not starting, but starting to take root. Some of it began a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And it's another thing he didn't ask for, and it's I always thought at the time he came in with so much energy, and he does still have it.
Yes.
And it, I think a lot of ads are trying to maybe hire younger to be able to keep up with the demands of what coaching in this era requires. But he's a pretty unique dude. He's 57 now. He 52, 53 when he was hired. And I did think at the time, I was like, well, I hate this for him and for Jenny, coming to such a big athletic program, and both men and women. But basketball being obviously, a lot of people think of Oklahoma as a football school, and it is. And I love seeing what Coach Venables is doing to get Oklahoma back where it belongs. But in the football world, but there's a lot of history with basketball too. The men's program is in my mind, no doubt, one of the top 25 programs in college basketball history. And that's if Oklahoma would have won in '88 against Kansas, we're talking about maybe a top 15. And who knows what else happens after the fact if Oklahoma beat Danny Manning and them. So it's a historic program. Kelvin Sampson did a great job. Coach Kruger did a great job, coming back in and getting us back where we belong, with being just a recurring NCAA tournament team, and not only that, but going deep. And I think Porter can do that too. And what I liked about his season of life when he took this job, and what all it asks now, like I was talking about earlier, is I always felt like he had the energy to be able to adapt if he would choose to do so. And it sounds like he's choosing that. And I love to move on to what you said about Tay Davis. The Notre Dame transfer, 6'9", former high school teammate, of course, of Nigel Pack, which is really cool. They were different ages, but they did play one season together. And I like what Tay brings. And I think just in general, from a portal standpoint, and this roster that you're starting to see Porter build out is one trip through the SEC, very big teams, very, of course, talented and well-coached teams, but long and athletic. And there's just only so much you can do if you are at a disadvantage there. And I think we just have been for a season or two. At least the one in the SEC. And guys like Mo Waggy playing a bigger role. I think he fits that bill perfectly. Bringing Darion Reed over from Alabama. A 6'8" wing. That's huge. I mean, there are NBA wings not that big, many of them. And, he might have that potential to be an NBA guy. And Tay Davis fits that as well at 6'9". So I love kind of their fit and what Porter's looking for. There are some other guys that we could get into that will probably play smaller roles than those guys, but that kind of do start to show this vision of like, well, at least he knows kind of what he's hunting for as far as getting his roster to look. And I think those couple of guys are good starts. All of them transfers, by the way, the ones I mentioned.
Crazy.
Davis and Reed both this year, Waggy last year, 2 of those from Alabama.
Yep.
So they have SEC experience, of course. Waggy had a great end to last year.
Yes, he did.
I think this is the first offseason where I'm kind of past and I know it's up to folks like you and me to help the fan base get to know the roster early in the year.
Yes.
But it's time that we kind of move past this either frustration or lack of a desire of like getting behind a team just because we're familiar with it. It is what it is now.
Yes.
And they deserve it. They're Sooners like anybody else. So if you're a Sooner fan, they deserve that. And it's a team that I think talent-wise has the potential to do special things, and obviously it's up to them to do it. I think another thing he mentioned at SEC Media Days that you didn't, that maybe stood out to me the most, of course, the Tay Davis comment made some waves.
Yeah.
And on that front, I know some part of the fan base will kind of be like, it's great to hear that type of thing, but they almost want to protect from the program like being too much in the spotlight or one kid too much in the spotlight. Porter mentioned it. These transfer guys these days, they've been around. Guys these days don't need to be asked to spend a bunch of time in the gym. It's kind of the new culture. Not new, but for the most part, from top to bottom, a new culture on college basketball. It's the expectation. That's the new standard, especially in this conference. And I think kind of putting that out there for a guy like Tay, it shows the player, it shows the team what your potential is. Some guys don't need to be told that. They are inherently confident in that in themselves. Others, it can be really helpful. And yes, others, it can be detrimental. Like, whoa, that's a lot of pressure. I don't get that sense with Tay. He averaged, 16 points, 6 rebounds at Notre Dame last year, being a guy they asked a lot out of. And I think he will benefit because of that. He may not win the award, but I think we'll see a higher ceiling out of him because Porter's showing that confidence. The other comment I wanted to mention lastly on this answer, he talked about this kind of need for resiliency. And I think that's obviously it's a buzzword in sports, of course. Every athlete and every team has to have it in some way because you're not going to start every game scoring the first points and just kind of be able to hold on to that. You're not going to win every game. You're going to have to bounce back. But I think in basketball, in my opinion, it is the sport where resiliency is the most important for a couple of reasons. One, if we're just comparing it to football, so Texas, right? Venables they had to kind of regroup. John Mateer regroup and go back out, and they showed really well against South Carolina, right? And now kind of the arrow is pointing back up. Now, when this is coming out, there will be another few very important games played. But in this moment when we're recording, that's kind of where we stand. And in football, you either play offense or you play defense or you play special teams. Sometimes you play a little bit of both if it's special teams.
Right.
But if one side of the ball isn't doing their job, you do have another side that, and that's actually one of the things I love about basketball is you never have to rely on somebody else to do the other half of the job. But in football, you have guys that can pick you up if you're not doing well, etc. In basketball, it's you on the offensive end, it's you on the defensive end.
That's so true.
You have to kind of be able to compartmentalize and, we're not shooting the ball well, we're not giving up, we're not wavering on what our identity is, which I think that should be defense with its length and athleticism and just experience. I think they'll be able to score.
That's awesome.
They will be able to score. I believe that too. But I think this is a team that can kind of be a turning point in the Porter Moser era of, not going through those swoons of 5, 6 games where you only win one or two of them. And I think that's where that resiliency comes in, because here's another kind of comparison or contrast with other sports. Football, Venables had that whole week after OU Texas, multiple practices. There's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm to basketball, but it changes week to week. You may play Saturday late at night on the road, and you have a home game Monday, or you have a away game Tuesday, and you might only get one good session on the court in together between those games. So resiliency is extra valuable in basketball, and I love that Porter kind of spotlighted that and talked about it, because it's necessary. And I think starting to lean into the portal, like you said, with guys that have won at other. If you've won in college basketball at any level, whether you're Nigel Pack, maybe to a lesser extent at Notre Dame, Tate Davis, Xavier Brown did so in a big way at St. Joe's. If you've won, Mo Waggy as well, you've had to demonstrate that resiliency. So putting those guys together, I think, is a good plan, and really excited to see those guys kind of come together. And I'm not expecting it to. That's the other thing. We need to have a little bit of patience. Now, what does the men's team not have had any trouble doing the last 2 years? Winning in non-conference.
Yes. Oh my
Really
gosh.
good
Yes.
at non-conference. So, but I think we even need an extra little bit of grace for that first couple weeks of January when the SEC comes around, because you're still learning about yourself. And that's a lot of times when young players and kind of new, not difference makers and needle movers per se, but like a Koala Talk, for example, can he keep improving in his limited playing time in the fall part or the non-conference portion, have a couple good experiences shooting the basketball. Is a very good shooter. He's just an example. There are a couple of these guys. And then by the time, that third or fourth week of January comes around, is he a part of that rotation? Has he kind of shown you that you can trust him? And then, you've kind of got more directions to go as a coach. So I think we're just like these coaches are learning. We're learning as a fan base, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What this thing looks like, and kind of the rhythm of a season with such a new team every year.
Yes. Well, and like we mentioned before, it's sometimes hard as fans to quote get behind a new team every year, and that is kind of what it feels like sometimes. I mean, we have our Oklahoma grown kids like yourself and Dayton Forsyth, who I know Toby mentioned when I talked to him back in the summer, how he asked him, "Are you going to stick around, or were you thinking about trying to find somewhere else where you might fit in better?" And he said, "No, like I'm born and raised Oklahoma Sooner. I wanted nothing more than to come here, and I love it here, and I'm staying." So it's important to focus on those kids like him, because people like him feed that part of the fan base when that's what they're looking for. And Dayton, he's a great player. I'm not discounting his skills at all, because obviously he's a fantastic player. But it's important to bring in people that are talented to complement him. And if that be from the portal and there's a lot of turnover or whatever, then it just is what it is. And that's what we have to focus on every year. My husband and I went to the Final Four, I believe it was 2018 in San Antonio, and that's when Porter Moser was there with Loyola. And I really liked him. We actually were rooting for them through the tournament. Because, I mean, they were like the underdog, of course, and Sister Jean, rest in peace now. I'm so sad that she passed, but I know, it's so crazy. I don't think I want to be 106, but if I am, I'll still be at OU basketball games. But it was really cool to watch Porter through the tournament, and we kind of, like I said, attached ourselves to him then. And so when he was hired by Oklahoma, I was like, I'm pumped for this. And like you said, I think he brings a lot of energy, and he still does. And it's just cool to see him adapting to that, the changes that are laid out in front of us that nobody probably, especially in the last decade, did not see coming. But here we are. But yeah, like you said, last year especially, we did so well in the non-conference season. And what were we, like 13-0 or something?
We got to maybe 10 or 11, I think it was, but pretty close.
Yeah, and I remember listening to that Michigan game on the radio, which I hardly ever do with basketball. I like to watch it, but
Yeah.
sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And it was such a
Yeah.
big game, and that was such a big win for
Yeah.
us. And I remember listening to that and thinking, holy smokes, like we may have something going
Yeah.
here. And yeah, but getting into conference play, it's definitely different in the SEC. But all that to say, I mean, the Big 12 is not like a cakewalk by any means in basketball, but yeah, it's fun to think about where we have the possibility to go this coming season, and
Yeah.
lots of great names and lots of opportunities. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed, I'll be there. I'm one of those that I've never really understood why it's hard. I mean, it's not fun when you're not winning. I get that, and I completely understand that.
Right.
But I'm not one that's like, oh, well, we're not winning, so I'm not going to go to the game, or
Sure.
I'm going to sell my tickets now, or I don't even want to watch them. That's not me. I'm invested.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have tickets, I'm going to go. And I'm going to watch if I can't go, or listen, or at least follow, or
Yep.
whatever. And so I've never really understood and I don't mean it disrespectfully. I don't want to make people mad, but like the fair weather fans that feel that way,
Yeah.
that's just not me. I don't understand it, and I really wish that people would be more committed, because the players, I mean, they feed off of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not an athlete by any means, so I don't know what it's like to be on the court and wish that there were all these people up there rooting for you.
Right.
But I mean, you can tell. Like, I was there last year at the Texas game, which did not go in our favor, but there was a
We
complete
made a valiant effort in the second half too,
they
but
sure did. There was a complete momentum shift after halftime, and that was a late game. I think it was like a 9 o'clock tip, and I was like, I got to drive back home. Like, it's
yeah.
the last thing I wanted to do was still be at Lloyd Noble Center at 11:30.
Right.
But yeah, I was just like, I stayed through the whole thing, and even at the end, and it just kind of fell apart, and we knew it wasn't going to happen. But dadgummit, I felt like they really were feeding off of us.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, was that the game that they built
I think so. Yep.
the snake around the
balloon
stadium?
snake. Yep.
But I think that the guys were like, okay, well, our fans are
It matters.
entertaining themselves or whatever, but that we're going to feed off of their excitement and see what we could do. And they really were like a different team in the second half. And I just kept thinking, why couldn't we have seen this in the first half? Of course,
yeah.
We don't need to go off into that, but my point being, I feel like that they fed off of the momentum, for whatever the reason it may have been from, that the crowd had in that second half, and they were a completely different team.
Yeah.
So I really hope that this season people will get out and support them, and maybe they see a little more promise. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, last year we had Jeremiah Fears, and so I mean, that obviously big name, got drafted,
right.
and all of that. But I mean, I'm just hoping they see a lot of potential in the team, and they want to get out and support them, because I feel like that does help. It does make a difference, and I feel like this team has a lot to offer. So.
Yeah, I agree. The players do, and the staff and the team, the program does have, their role to play in that. Of course, it's easier.
Sure.
You've kind of talked about the type of a fan you are. Reality is not all are like that, and you're, as little as we may understand it, it's the reality, and that's totally fine. You've got, especially, I think a lot of times, and now you have the Thunder as well, but Oklahoma fans, especially that are football above all else. Especially through the Stoops era, and then kind of the Lincoln Riley era there, as Venables is starting to kick this thing off. Maybe we get back here, but hopefully the basketball programs are following suit.
Absolutely.
You experience all this success football wise, and maybe one loss, maybe two at most. And it's just like this, feeding this machine as a fan of experiencing wins and getting frustrated when those losses are happening, of course. Basketball, a successful season can be 23-11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 11 losses, I know, and a lot of those may come in a small period of time. And Porter hasn't had that record yet, but I think this team's capable of doing that, and maybe even more. I feel like sometimes we have to kind of compartmentalize the sports we're following, and basketball and football are a lot different. And basketball, Porter and Jenny are trying to get these programs to where they need to be.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a problem with high expectations for Sooner fans. It's one of the top athletic programs in college sports in the U.S. And that, the coaches want that. Coaches and players chose Oklahoma for that reason.
Yes.
especially in the football side, but I think we're getting there with basketball too, with wanting to play at the high level that the SEC offers. And that's not something that these humans, these people, coaches and players shy away from. Right. So, but yeah, there's it's kind of a sliding scale, right? Of like, okay, is the team showing enough promise? Yeah. Then we get that. The season starts right in the middle of football season.
Yes, and that's hard, especially as a fan that lives out of town. I can say that.
We're on October 21st recording this, and here in a week and a half or two, the season starts, and there'll be a big OU football game that weekend. Yep. It's kind of tricky the way it starts, and not to mention Thunder starting off with their title defense campaign. So it can be hard there. They've done a good job though in non-conference the last couple of years of developing that following, that excitement early on, which hasn't always been the case, I feel like, for basketball at OU. Now the goal is to manage and maneuver that SEC conference slate a little bit more professionally, if you will, and of course just raise your standard. Yep. I think a cool thing about this year, from local fan standpoint, as I don't know if you have the schedule pulled up, but home games that Oklahoma has this year. I was
going to bring that up. Yeah, incredible.
Tuesday, January 13th, home Florida, defending national champion. Yep. The very next game, Saturday, the same week, home Alabama, a very good team, Final Four 2 years ago, and a team very capable. Then we also welcome Auburn later in the year, and they seem to have maybe taken a little step back based off of just some of their secret scrimmage stuff going around, and obviously Bruce Pearl stepping down as late as he did, but they'll still be talented.
Yeah, they will.
Hediford coming back. So, all those teams are at home, and you obviously go to Kentucky, but there's a home slate. Yes, is that kind of scary? It's like, man, like you almost feel this this need to protect your home court, and that's great. But you see those teams like, man, that's going to be difficult. But you'd rather have them in Norman than have to go visit all those places. It's even harder to win. So a good opportunity there to steal one or two of those and to really help out your conference record when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And it's a great opportunity to fill up that place. And if nothing else, watching those matchups, bring in the people, bring in the Sooner fans, come watch these big teams because, I mean, obviously I'll be at the Florida game for sure. That's one that caught my eye right off the bat. I mean, just incredible. It's just going to be so much fun. Great big teams coming to Norman. And so I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the women. And speaking of big names coming to Norman, Dawn Staley and South Carolina are coming.
Yeah.
LSU and Kim Mulkey, and even that SEC ACC game, NC State's coming to Norman in December. So that's another big one as well. I know there's other ones. Those are just the ones that stick out to me off the top of my head. But the girls have a very promising season as well. And of course, the name that sticks out to everyone right now is obviously the return of Reagan Beers. She's awesome, very incredible. But Elia Chavez coming in as a freshman, and you know what that's like to have a little expectations, the Gatorade Player of the Year and a bigger name coming in there. And I've heard nothing but good about her. I'm excited to see this team. And again, like I said, I've talked to Beatrice and Peyton. Their episodes will be coming out. Just talking to those girls, they're both very excited about the season. And I said the team is getting along really well, practicing well together, and just really molding well together. And I love Coach Jenny. Of course, when she was hired about the same time as Porter, I couldn't have been more excited about her. And she is so much fun to watch. I love watching her on the sidelines. And the girls seem to love her. I've heard nothing but good about her on and off the court. So a big season coming up for them. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Last year was a really good debut season in the SEC. It really was.
Absolutely. Yes.
11-5 in conference. And that's with losing 4 in January.
Wow.
4 of their 5 losses were in January. Right off the bat, lost the first one to Texas to start 0-1. Lost the third one to Mississippi State to start 1-2.
Okay, yep.
And then ended up also losing to South Carolina, the big one there in January, and then dropped 2 straight to LSU on the road and then Kentucky at home to start February. After those games, you're 4-5 in conference. That's not the start they would have expected, but you got some, you drop the one to Texas at home. That's not one that's tough, and that's one you need to bank on winning because it's going to be hard to go to Texas and win, of course, if you ever have to do that. And but then they talk about that resiliency. Well, they reel off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight there going into the SEC tournament. So they almost put themselves in a position where they had to do that if they wanted to make that first SEC season a success, but they did it.
They did it.
You got Skylar Van, you got, but she's not returning, but Jenny had so many different players she could kind of rely on, and that continues this year. And again, you add in Aaliyah Chavez. So they'll be looking to be more solid in each month throughout the season and not force themselves into the position of to have a special year, having to go on such a big run. But they showed themselves they're capable of that. So that's what makes the season exciting. And there's also kind of the unknown, of course, of Chavez and just how truly special is she right off the bat, and how much of a difference can she make to kind of take some pressure off of Beers inside.
For sure.
How much pressure does she take off of Verhulst there on the perimeter? And I think it's a big year for Sahara Williams to step up. The one thing that stands out to me traveling with this team to Greenville last year, the SEC tournament, and seeing us play against even Georgia, which was a resounding win in that first round, but Kentucky, the win in the second round, and then losing to South Carolina, giving them a pretty good game until about the middle of the third quarter is again the same thing on the men's side: size, length, and athleticism, especially speed and athleticism. And I mean, you see some young women who are just brilliant, like physical specimens in the SEC in a way that you just frankly didn't a lot in the Big 12.
So true.
And you kind of have to meet and play that game and recruit to that. And I think she's doing that. Sahara obviously fits that bill. Because Aya Lofton, a freshman, is a very special athlete. Not quite as big and powerful as Sahara, at least not at this point, but very, very quick and a strong runner, great defender. So Brooklyn Stewart plays into that as well. A true freshman forward or big post player. And she's an awesome personality too. You guys will love kind of getting to meet Brooklyn. Easily going and watching them practice this offseason. Easily the most like bubbly, positive basketball player I've ever been around. And it's almost like, all right, Brooklyn, like, and I've heard this from the coaches, like, hey, we love how like positive you are, but let's kind of develop a little bit of a killer instinct here, and that'll come, I think. But they expect that help, and I think Reagan Weers will be a big help for that as well. But exciting season for them. I think they've created a new kind of floor for themselves season success-wise, and I think that is the Sweet 16. I've got over that hump for the first time this year, this last year under Jenny, and now I think that's the expectation. And I mean, this team they're picked sixth, preseason in the AP, but that only is good for fifth in the SEC after finishing fourth last year. Fifth in the preseason media SEC poll. So still kind of, a little chip on the shoulder potential for them to kind of work with there. And I just love the NCAA tournament experience they got last year, and bringing all those young women back will be very helpful.
Absolutely. Well, Peyton and Beatrice and I talked about that game against Iowa, Jenny's alma mater, coming to Norman, and that big win, and how packed out Lloyd Noble was.
Man.
And that was just incredible on a Monday afternoon. Just an incredible game for them. And of course, when they won that, they knew going to Seattle they were going to get UConn, and that's a tough feat in and of itself. But I think that just gave them more of a desire to see how much further they can go this season. And that's what they both said to me is that just has added more fuel to them, that desire to want to make it past the Sweet 16 and just see how far can we go, because
at that point anything can happen.
Exactly. I really wish they could have gotten past UConn. And I love Paige Beckers. I've followed her, of course, for years.
Awesome.
And now she's in Dallas. I went and watched her play a couple games this summer.
Oh, cool.
It's a lot of fun to watch the women get to play at the next level. It's still a really cool experience.
Yeah, she's special.
And I love Paige Beckers. And again, I know that was a feat for them going into that game, but it just kind of added a little fuel. And now that they've been there and tasted that, it just makes them want it even more, and they want to go further. So, and again, seeing that crowd that came into Lloyd Noble that Monday afternoon, just holy smokes! Like, can we please do that again? Like, for the South Carolina game. They're going to need that
Yeah.
crowd. That LSU game, they're going to need that crowd. Just again, lots of great opportunities to fill up Lloyd Noble and be loud and show support because
Yep.
they're going to need it and they feed off that crowd. And we can obviously show up and show out, and we need to do it for sure.
Yep.
But again, we get in return as fans a fantastic basketball game. And
Yeah.
last year I was there for the Texas game, and it did not go as we had hoped, and that was unfortunate. But it's really cool to see the fight in those girls, and they bounce back like we talked about. They had all those losses in January. That's crazy to think about. I'd forgotten about all of those. But yeah, they really bounced back, and just the response that they had. So I know that they're going to build off of that this season, and I'm ready. I'm ready to watch them.
I know. I can't believe basketball. I mean, when this episode's out, basketball's running and gunning. So it always sneaks up on us, especially when football's having a good season. It's like, whoa, all right, it's November. Let's go.
It does. It's crazy. We're sitting on a week out right now, and that's just crazy to think about. Yeah, it's hard as, especially like I said, an out of town fan like myself, to kind of balance the travel and the demand and all of that when you want to support all the things. And it's really hard to make it early in the season. But yeah, I try to stack my plans and get out there as much as I can. But it's going to be a good season, so I'm excited.
It is. Yep, there sure will be.
Well, I know I ran you longer than I told you I would, but I did want to ask you about your podcast.
Yeah.
You told me that it will be coming soon, so by the time this comes out, you should be up and going. So yeah, let's hear a little bit about that because I'm excited for you.
Yep, should have a few episodes out by the time this is rolling. It is called Tyler and Neal is Checking In.
Okay.
All about men's and women's basketball at OU.
Love it.
That checking in is kind of a play on me being a bench player coming off the bench, the six-man award, of course. So checking in that way, checking in throughout the season, following the calendar together. And that should be on Apple and Spotify if you go search that.
Awesome.
And I mean, kind of getting into a new thing there. Not a whole lot different from obviously what I do radio wise day to day, but chiefly focusing on the basketball teams and the unique situation I'm in with radio for the women, being around them generally at least once a week throughout the season. We'll also catch at least probably a practice every other week or so. So try to bring some fun insight there from the women's side, and then men's same thing. Not working with them in any capacity radio wise, but able to go and see practice and stay in touch with friends on the staff. And Dayton, you mentioned Dayton's a friend of mine as well, and Reed Lovelace is a family friend. Walked on Reed Lovelace too, so have some good ties to them, and hear some good things throughout the seasons. Excited for you guys to come along with me in that.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear that because obviously podcasting is fun when you're talking about something you love, and
absolutely
something exciting. You never know who all wants to hear whatever you have to say until you get it out there. So I love it. Well, I'll link to all of that in the show notes and everything.
Yep, I'll get that all to you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll post about it.
Yep.
Well, anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Oh, let's see. I don't think so. I think what Coach Venables is doing is awesome. Obviously, the Texas result was not a fun one, and I know he needs to figure out the Sarkisian and the Texas problem there. But the reality is, we're in a day and age of college football where, like Ryan Day at Ohio State can't beat Michigan, but they won the national title. You can still do really special things.
That's so
and I have zero doubt that Brent is the right person, because we've already seen in 3 last year, 4 years this year, get this program to where he wants it identity-wise and mentality-wise on that defensive side. And we've already seen, even in games where the offense isn't just totally humming, like think of South Carolina going away from home. Tory Blaylock gets going on the ground.
Yes.
And because you can rely on that defense to do what they are, strong, makes playing complementary football so much better. I love the job Brent's doing, and I'm behind him 1,000%.
Same. I'm a big fan of him. He has hosted. He did not do it this last summer, but the 3 summers before, he's done. It's a fundraiser for his foundation, the 212 Foundation. But it's a ladies' clinic on a Saturday in July, and it is incredible. I went all 3 years.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's supposed to be back next summer, so I will definitely be there. But just to meet him and the staff and the
Yeah.
players and to see that culture that he's building, and of course getting to see the facilities and all the experiences is super cool.
Yeah.
Just meeting all of them, and when you meet them, you have name tag on, so they call you by name, they act
Yeah.
like you're like their best friend and they've known you
Yeah.
forever, just hugging you and taking pictures and autographs and all the things. But it's just so cool to see the culture that he is building and
Yeah.
continuing to build, and he's just an amazing human being, and I
Yeah.
love that. And yeah, I'm behind him 1,000% as well. I know it's hard to see the struggles, especially like you said, he apparently has a Texas problem. But that's a good point that you made though about Ryan Day, because I hadn't thought about that, but that's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose to Texas. It is not fun to go to Dallas and lose, but yeah, there's still a lot of season ahead of us. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. We were covered well again on the road with
Yeah.
South Carolina, and I hope we get, if we can keep that run game going. I think that's a good
Uh,
something good to focus on. And
for sure.
Teddy Lehman actually said at the beginning of the season that he was hoping that we had a couple of 1,000-yard rushers this season. And of course, as the season started, we were all like, okay, eyes on Tory Blaylock for that, which I don't know where he's at season wise, but I know there were a couple of games where he didn't get a lot of yards in or whatever. Regardless of whether he hits 1,000 yards this season or not, I think he's a special kid and he
Yes.
has a great future. He's fun to watch, and SEC player of the week for the second time
Yeah.
this season. So yeah, I'm ready. I hope that the run game keeps going for sure.
I know if they do, they're cooking with gas because that complements
Yes,
that defense well.
absolutely. And I love the defense. I love the defense and just seeing how far it's come.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm ready.